Well, for Muslims across the world, today is Eid el-Fitr, the end of the holy month of Ramadan. And in Gaza, what is meant to be a day of joy has a very different feel and look this year. Displaced Palestinians in some communities have been forced to say prayers in the open air. Worshippers in Rafah are kneeling on mats and in the streets around a mosque left all but destroyed by an Israeli airstrike. Local Palestinian media say over 520 mosques have either been destroyed or damaged during 6 months of war. Meanwhile, the bloodshed continues. The Hamas-run health ministry says more than 120 people have been killed in the last 24 hours. Those same officials say that number reportedly includes 14 members of one family. They also estimate almost 33,500 Palestinians have been killed during the conflict. Well, U.S. President Joe Biden is sharpening his criticism of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu over his handling of the war against Hamas. CBC's Richard Madden is following this story for us from Washington and has more on what Biden is saying.
President Joe Biden is giving his strongest criticism yet of the Israeli war effort, saying Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is, quote, making a mistake with his approach on Gaza, and warned of repercussions both within Israel and internationally because of Netanyahu's actions. Now, this is the latest sign of growing tensions between these two typically staunch allies. Biden expressed anger and frustration last week after Israel's military killed 7 aid workers with a U.S.-based charity group who were delivering aid to Gaza. Now, the president made these latest harsh critiques in an interview with a Spanish-language outlet that aired late last night. He was asked whether Netanyahu was putting his own political survival ahead of national interests. Here's his response.
I think what he's doing is a mistake. I don't agree with his approach. I think it's outrageous that those 3 vehicles were hit by drones and taken out on a highway where it wasn't like it was along the shore. It wasn't like there was a convoy moving there, etc. So what I'm calling for is for the Israelis to just call for a ceasefire, allow for the next 6-8 weeks.
Now, Biden has been under pressure from many in his own party to get tougher on Israel, and those internal divisions are threatening his coalition that helped him win the White House in 2020. Last week, Biden warned Netanyahu on a phone call that the U.S. may attach conditions to future aid to Israel unless more aid is delivered to Gaza. And as for that future aid, Congress is now back in session, and aid to Israel and Ukraine is at the top of their agenda. But divisions threaten to derail it. House Speaker Mike Johnson is floating a compromise deal, but that's caused a revolt from within his own party, led by far-right Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's threatening to oust him from his speakership if he moves forward. So all eyes will now be on how Johnson will navigate an aid package to satisfy that wing of his party. Republicans will soon be down to a razor-thin 1-seat majority in the House, so he'd need to cut a deal with Democrats. Johnson has very little room for error on this aid plan to support America's key allies at their critical time of need. Richard Madden, CBC News, Washington.